welcome out to the shop today. We are diving into another hand plane restoration. Here we have a coffin plane. So as you can see by the initial view, the iron is fairly rusted. It's got some gunk right here on the front. Looks like a little bit of paint here on the side. Overall, it's in decent condition. It's got a little crack right here, but most of the time when you get these planes, they have cracks here on the front or the rear of the plane, or they're either completely destroyed from where they've just been sitting and rotting away. So we're going to try to clean this up and get it back into user condition. So right now you can see that it still has some wood shavings in it from the last time that it was used, which I don't have a clue when that was. So we're just going to pop out the iron. There we go. The wedge, and then here is the iron. There is a lot of life left still on this, as you can see right there. Looks like it was even sharpened, so that's pretty cool. So we're just gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up and let's see what we can go with. It looks like this has, let's see if we can see it. Looks like that says Ohio Tool Company. So the front of it had some words on it, but I couldn't read it because of everything that is on the front of it. So let's go ahead and get this broken down. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take care of the iron, get that back into shape. And I've got a scraper right here. But what I'm going to do is just go and try to get as much rust off by scraping as possible. So after scraping, this is where I'm at. Here is the iron. So I got most of that rust off, but there is still some on it. So there are those two pieces. So next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take them onto some sandpaper and get them flattened out. On the iron right here along the top where everybody's been hitting it to make the adjustments, it has a really bad ridge. I don't know how well you can see that. But what I'm going to do real quick is just take a file to it and get that ridge gone. Now I don't want to go too far and actually start filing into the into the iron. I'll be able to blend all of this in with the sandpaper. So now what I'm going to be doing after I scraped it, I'm going to go ahead and start running it along the sandpaper, trying to clean this up and get this flattened as much as possible. I've gotten the edges to where they don't have the little dents and everything on the sides. So we're going to go ahead and start trying to get this flattened out. So after a lot of work trying to get this sanded out and get this all flattened, this is where I'm at. Sometimes you got to know when to stop. It's got random pitting, not so bad down here, but right here and up here near the top of the iron. This side's not so bad. It does have a little bit of a slope right here. But I'm going to stop where it's at for trying to remove the metal, because I don't want to go too thin. If you know that these older planes are much thicker than, or like the wooden ones are much thicker than the steel ones. So what I'm going to do now is start working on the sides, and that I'm going to try to keep this as flat as possible, just working it back and forth. So for the middle section in here, to get all this cleaned out, I've got just a little dowel and I'm just rotating it around. I'm trying to get whatever rust off I can. There's some deep pitting right here in the middle section, so dowels work good for this, and also if you had a sanding stick, that would also work great, but I don't have one right at the moment and I don't feel like making one, so we're gonna just go with this. So we had to kind of skip ahead a little bit, and I went ahead and worked on the irons quite a bit. I've gotten this one cleaned up. I got it sanded down to 1000 grit sandpaper, and now as you can see there's stuff all over it. That is actually paste wax because it brought out fresh metal and I don't want it to rust. And I even did the screw to hold that all together. And for the middle of the screw, I took some 150 grit paper and actually put it in between and just rotated it back and forth. So now what we are going to be working on is the actual plane body. As you can see, it is in pretty good shape except for, where's that little crack right here around the throat and all the gunk on the front. So what I'm going to try to do with the front is take a scraper and I'm just going to try to see what I can scrape off of there before I move on to the next step. It ran out sort of like a sap or something like that, so we tried to scrape that off. It's smooth now, so I'm going to grab a bit of turpentine and start trying to clean this up. So we're going to move on to the front of it where there was so much gunk on there. Let's see if we can get most of this knocked off. It's like somebody's put sparkles or something on this. See, this is where the paint is on this side right here. The turpentine works great for removing all the paint splatter because for some reason old planes, old wooden ones, always have paint on them. It's like somebody took them on a job site and they always had to be right next to the paint cans. So I've cleaned up most of the plane and I'm just gonna start trying to wipe it off and see where we're at with it. I like the dark patina being left on these hand planes. That's why I don't try to sand them down at all. I still don't know what is on the front of that. That is, I don't even know what that is. It's like a sap or something and it won't come off. But this stamp is on there backwards. I don't know if you can see it, but the plane sits like this and it says Ohio Tool Company right there. So this is of course an Ohio Tool Company hand plane. Interesting fact for you guys, if you guys didn't know, that Ohio Tool Company actually had prisoners make their hand planes. So, so that's something for you to take away from all this, is that this hand plane right here could have been made by a prisoner at one point. So now that we have gotten most of the dirt cleaned off of this plane, we've got to make sure that the bottom of this is flattened. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to now, if you wanted to, you could actually take this, flip it over in a vise, and then take another hand plane and flatten it that way. But the sandpaper works well. But if you ever have tried to clamp a coffin plane before, you will know that it is fairly difficult because the only pinch point is right here at the widest point, so it's kind of hard to get it into a clamp and get it cleaned up nice. Alright, so I'm taking a square and I'm checking out to see how flat this is. It looks like I have just a little bit here on the back side and a little bit here on the toe that is kind of sloping downwards. I'm not too worried about that because the middle, right around the throat, and almost all the way to both ends is completely flat. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get some boiled linseed oil and put a coat on and make sure that this has plenty of stuff on it. Make sure that it's saturated and not all dried out. There you guys got it. Got to see that it is pretty sharp and it cuts really good.